Yes. As one of you mentioned to me, and this is the hard time just after lunch. The blood going from the head to the stomach. And this is my big exam. If I can keep your eyes open, then it's great. I will do my best, and I really hope that we can continue from where we stopped earlier. I think it was great with all the questions in here. That's very important. My next theoretical part will be what I believe is one of the big transitions and I think it's the most important transition in talent development is going from youth player to a senior player. And before I go in to my PowerPoint, I have some other stuff. And I know that the figures are still very, very big. But in Denmark, in under 12, we have around 700 teams in Denmark. When we come to under 18, we have around 120. It means that 80% of the teams and of the players, they stop playing handball from under 12 to under 18, and of course that is a huge problem for us. Going from under 18 to senior, we don't have exact figures, but around 25% stop when they go from their own secure team to going into senior handball. Some of it lies, of course, in going into other sports. I think also that because the number is so high, it is obvious that a lot of children go into handball just because that's what you do when you live in Denmark, and then some of them they will go away. The passion is not big on all these, a lot of them, and that's all right. They go into the team sport because they want to be with their friends from school. And as we talked about during the lunch, it is great that they come into a team sport, whether they want to continue or what we can benefit, or the children and the society, I believe, can benefit from the culture in team sports. The next thing is that I believe is very important when we are working with talent development is to be aware of what is talent and what do we believe talent is. Because I think the way we look at talent has a great influence on how we manage our youth teams. There's a biological part, I believe, and that I think that most people tend to see talent as some way biological, meaning that it's easy for you. You have it's a gift. You can quite easy adapt to new exercises, and I believe that up until under 16, there's a lot of players who can be the best still because of the gift. The next step, I believe, is have a talent for training. Whoops. You could also call that the psychological part. When you come from under 16 up to under 18, then it's very important that you also want to train. That's a part of being a talent. You have to choose between a lot of things. You are in the gymnasium, you have a lot of friends, maybe you get a boyfriend or girlfriend, and there are a lot of things you have to find out. How much will you invest in this? And then the third part for me is the holistic one, the club environment. There's a lot of research in Denmark these years looking into what does it affect in which club and in which environment you are in when you are a talent. What does it affect how your coach look like when you are a talent? If you as a coach see talent as biological, then you might have the assumption that you can see who will be the best very early. And of course that has some consequences not only for the one picked, but also for the ones who are not picked. If you believe that this is the main thing of being talented, then you will look much into how hard they train, how much they want to offer for this. But also, maybe it's very important to see how are the clubs working with the talents. How do we work with them? What are their everyday life in this situation? When do we train compared to when they go to school? How much do we train? How much do we let them do other things in order to keep them motivated? All these things, I believe, is very important. Also to try to give them a growth mindset and not a fixed mindset, so that they believe that mistakes is a way of learning new things, adapting new things, and so that they dare to share, to show that they are not perfect. They try to do some other exercises. I often go into players like these and start asking, what is your favorite exercise? Because it tells me so much about their mindset, what they choose. If the left back chooses a shooting exercise, 3 long steps, jumping, shoot, well that is all right. But if he says, I would like to make an exercise working with the line player, and maybe he's not good at it, then it tells me that he has a growth mindset and that he's eager to learn more. And I think one of the main things we can give the players when they are young is to help them to get a growth mindset, so that they dare go out of their comfort zone, try new things. Because when he becomes senior and he's only able to boom, then it's so easy to go up and take him away. But if he has learned to go new ways, and he's able to have standing shots, he's able to make the Rajenovic, we call it, I don't know what you call it, and all these things, then he will become a good player. But I see a lot of young players, they are avoiding new stuff because they don't want to show that they are not perfect. And also what I saw in here, I don't know them very much, but it was quite obvious in the first exercises to see that it was the same players going into the defense all the time. When I go practice with Danish players that I know, then I also always start saying that we need two defenders to this exercise. I don't want to see line players. Because it's in Denmark, very often when we say we need 2 defenders, the line players, they run in there because they are scared of playing handball. Still talking about early specialization, but all these things, but it's so important for the backcourt players. Not when I say I need two for the defense, then the playmakers, they stand like this. He can't see me right now. Just still growth mindset, give them a chance as coaches, give them a chance making mistakes, really encourage them going into new areas of the game. And this depends a lot on our coaching style. Because for me, talent is all of this. But I also believe that in handball, talent, biological here, hard work here, 1, 10, 10. 2 and 8 is 16. No matter if it's 2 on hard work, 8 on talent, or the other way round. That is a part of my talent development mindset, that in handball you can really go very, very far, having 9, 10 on hard work, and maybe only 3 on biological talent, because you have so many years. And if they really, really want to be good handball players, then hard work can get them much further than I believe 10 years ago. The players who has really cheated me, the players around the generation I had on the youth national teams, was the one who was really struggling, really working hard, and maybe not being on the youth national team, but in an age of 23, 24, 25, becoming very, very good players. They have cheated me. The only one cheating me is the hard-working people. Oh, sorry, also the very talented lazy boys, they had also cheated me. I think I have given them too many chances. Instead of keeping them out in the club, talking to the club coach, saying, I can see that Peter, he's a very gifted handball player. When you can tell me that he has been working hard for 3 months, then I will pick him in. I made the mistake that I picked Peter in order to, I believe, that I could teach him to work hard. No. In the club, show it in the club, then he can have the privilege of going to the national team. So I made both mistakes. Does it make sense? Yeah, okay. Perfect. So this is a lot about the transition to senior handball on and off court. Earlier we have talked about the elite player's career. They are older, they can have a longer career, and they can have more years becoming good. I will look into what does the player need on court. Ask the 2 top coaches, top Danish coaches, what do they mean? What does the player need off court? When I look into this triangle, that I can find, biological, psychological, and over here with the clubs, I see that a lot of the players, they will go away here, because there's a lot of clubs that are not able to handle the players when they become seniors. I think a lot of clubs miss the patience on the player before the player misses the patience. So how can the coach help the players in this transition? How can the club help? How can the federation help? And just in the end, old Swedish investigation you probably know from Hansen, the road to the national team. What is important? So don't hesitate about questions during this. The first one I asked was Nikolaj Jakobsen. He's just behind me. What is important for him on court? What should we as youth coaches be able to give the player? The first thing he said is the game is faster, the players need to think faster. When he get new players to young players to Løven, then he often say that their decisions are too slow. They simply need too much time. They are not able to adapt and to see what is going to happen. So he would like, if you as a youth national coach or youth coach work more with decision making and the ability to be able to see what will happen in the game within the next 2-3 seconds. Because you see a lot of young players in defense reacting too late because they are not able to see what is going to happen. And you see a lot of players in the attack getting the ball, trying to find out what is going to happen, and then the chance disappeared. Then he said that it's important to incorporate new skills, meaning that, for example, the line players, the young line players he gets in, they are able to move into a space, get the ball and shoot. But what he needs is very much a line player that is able to stand on the front of a number 2 defender. It was Banja last year. Who was able to just go in front of a defender, get the ball, and then just go around. That was what he needed, because isolate one guy, put the ball in, and the second thing he said about the line players, be able to block, be able to cut the defense, which he believes is very important because there is no space. And he thinks that almost every position there is a difference between what they need when they are youth players and what they need when they become senior players. And the most important thing he says is, in youth handball, we tend to underestimate defense skills. But he has some of the most important players on his team. They are almost only able to defend. And they are getting acknowledged from defense when they become senior players, but they didn't when they were youth players. Then it's attack, attack, attack. So that's also important. And he said to me now, what's it called? Abutovic, the former defense general in Vardar.
Abutovic,
yeah. Abutovic, yes. He said, of course, I wanted Luka Sendrić, who was also in Vardar. But if I could pick one of them, I would take him because the defense system was more important. I can find more players almost at the level of Luka Sendrić than players looking like Abutovic. So it's just the picture that he believes what is important when we work in talent development is more defense when they come to this age. And then he said something very interesting, I believe, also in order to what we have been talking about. Because I have been talking a lot about making mistakes. And he's saying one of the most important things to go in on a top team is to make no mistakes. And I understand why. So there is a thing here between allowing players making mistakes when they are youth players, but also giving them the discipline that they need when they become senior players, if they should have court time and experience. And if the senior coach really dares to give them a chance. And I think that is a very important issue when you go here. So you cannot, as a youth coach, in order to what Nikolai says, just let them make mistakes all the way, because then they will have a nightmare coming to Rhein-Neckar Löwen, because if they make a mistake, they will go out. And then they will turn around and look at Claus and say, you told me to have a growth mindset, and you told me to make mistakes and all these kind of things. So there is something here that I believe is very important, and that everyone having under 18, having senior teams, and being in the same club, I think here is a very crucial issue to find out what will we do in our clubs. How can we give them the discipline at the same time when we try to give them individual skills? Anyone who wants to comment on that, or how we do? Some of you are having senior teams, some of you are having youth teams. What does it mean about the discipline? Is there a lack of discipline of the young players, or what do you tend to see? Very, very cruel of me to give a question where it's so hard just to open the eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I just feel that today the youth are very afraid of making the mistakes, and it's very important to get the environment in the team, that everybody feels that they have the right to make the mistake, because if they don't make, like you said, then they're not going to learn anything.
Mm.
But somehow, well, this kind of discipline is so far from this is total professional team.
Yeah, yeah, of
on
course.
the highest level.
Yeah.
But still, they somehow, I don't have the answer, but somehow they have to be prepared for it when they come there. But how to do that? It's really hard.
It's a hard question. Yes.
That's a good point. Well, maybe one thing what I think is about the discipline is that if you don't know the principles, and if you don't know maybe everything that depends on you, what you do is in effects on the other players' movements and so on, what he can do. So it's hard to be disciplined, so to say, because you think that you make the right decisions, or that's maybe one thing also, in a way, if you follow what I'm trying to say. So it's one thing about the discipline also.
More regarding to that? Yes.
Still about this discipline, so my home team is Cox, who was in Champions League just, and they got the professional coach 2 years ago, and I think that is the word that describes discipline and collective.
Yeah.
And discipline to the detail and continuous video feedback, and it can.
Yeah, the players
It's really on the top
understand.
level. That is how.
The player starts to understand what is the discipline, and what affects to another player, or what affects on the team playing. Maybe that's.
I think it's more regulation. If you have a team, you build some thoughts how you want to go further, give the players individual chances to go further, but then you have the discipline in the team to make the regulation. This is how we work, this is why we do this. And that's what I think he brought Cox quite much.
Yeah. Plus, when you see it from Denmark, and now I may be provocative, a lot of foreign players that are used to having that discipline. Maybe, I don't know. Now I don't know if I step into something I should.
I think the one thing that with you is that the better the young player understands the role within the discipline, the better the player is able to follow the thinking and the frame you're up. So if you have discipline for a millennial kid, that won't work without understanding why and your individual role in the collective team. I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. They are brought up asking questions, and they need to understand why.
Yeah.
They ask the why all the time. If I was asked told for 30 years ago, I would just do it. I would never ask. But the millennium generation, that's a very good point. They need to know why. And when they know why, I think they have discipline. In fact, much discipline. But they want to know why. I think that's good. Next one, Ole Nørgaard from Skjern, playing Champions League. What does he believe they need? He told me that for him it's so important that they have an all-round handball education. That's important when they become seniors. He says that in his training environment with the 2 players in the squad on every spot, and then maybe 2 young players, it is so important for the daily routine when they practice that there are players that are able to go in different positions. Not when they play matches, but in order to have a good training environment, he believes that it's very good if they can have 2 positions where they can contribute to the training, even though they are left wingers. Great if they can be a little playmaker, or right back, right wing. He thinks that his team is very vulnerable for injuries if he has too many players that are only able to have one position. And he even said that he believes that their group tactical level is higher if they have a bigger base. He believes that when they talk regarding a new opponent, a new match, that if they have a broad basic education, are able to see the court from different angles, he believes that they would reach a higher tactical level as a team. I have to admit I had never thought about that before he told me, but I think that is quite interesting. He's also talking about weapons, that the best players have to have something extraordinary coming from basis. And he prefers players that can play in both ends of the court. And I think that is also very individual from coach to coach, how you see that. In Denmark, the tradition is that line players should be able to defend. And as we can see in a lot of other countries right now, there's a trend going in that it is not necessary that the line players should be able to defend. What does the player need off court? And this is more my own experience now. I can't give it away to other coaches. It's more what I have seen for the past 15 years. I think the first picture is very important. I think that's what happens. When you're a youth player, you are the big fish in a small bowl. Get a lot of attention. And then you go into becoming a senior, and you are a small fish in a very big bowl. And I believe that it's important that when they are 16, 17 years old, that we mentally prepare them for this transition. that they start understanding that it's soon the end of this cozy little youth world. If they want to become top senior players, they have to understand this. It must not be a shock. It is one of the main things we can do as youth coaches, is to prepare them for this transition. Then I believe that it's so damn important that they are able to reflect on their own performance, both in practice and in match. As when we trained down there, I stopped 2 or 3 times asking them, what is wrong now with this exercise with the one who's passing to you, or what can you see in this 3 against 2 exercise? And some of them said a little, and of course this is a strange situation for them. There's a lot of coaches, and I'm coming from abroad and all these things, but I tend to ask a lot of questions because they need to understand what is good, what is not that good. I'm sure that in Finland you are also having SWOT analysis. Yeah, I've taken that out of the company world and put it into handball, starting talk about strengths, weaknesses. I don't call it that. Yes, like that. Opportunities, and threats. It has worked for me as a very good basic tool to let them sit down, spend half an hour thinking into their own game. What are my strengths? There are good players in Denmark around 16, 17 years old. They don't know. They have never thought of it. Players picked out for talent training, as you saw earlier on, and then I asked them, why do you think you're here? And they are silent. That's really worth thinking about. But let them talk about what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what do they want to become better at. What are their opportunities? That's also important when you go from youth to senior. What are my opportunities in order to becoming better? Who can help me? Could be another question. Then they say, I need 7 more kilos. Okay. Who can help you from that? I don't know, but we have a physical trainer. Maybe you should say hello to him. Or maybe some things about education and what it should be. Threats could be injuries. Okay, how can you have a bad shoulder? What can you do? I can do exercises. Do you have exercises? No, I don't have exercise. How can you? And so on. Using a lot of time here working on this. And when I know the players better, it could be in the national team, and there are players that has been in the team and we haven't done it the first year. I will make one, they will make one, and then we will change papers. Then it becomes very, very interesting. Because you will, as coaches, see that the players might have another view of what their strength and weaknesses is compared to what you believe. And so that's a good start when you talk about these things. I can really recommend it. It's important for them to understand that development does not mean keeping the same pace all the time. A lot of them get frustrated because they think that development is like this. Of course it's not. All the time. Setbacks, next level, injury, next level, picked out for something. So they have to know that it's not a disaster going down here. It's a disaster if you don't learn from it. Because you will get here again. I don't know any great handball player who haven't had this. All the best Danish players, they have been down here a lot of times. Not being picked, being injured, having a long period struggling with their game, having something on the family or something different. But it's so important for the young players' mindset that they understand that development is like this, and all the things you learn here will make it easier next time. This could be a Danish issue, I don't know. But the recent years, when I stopped picking a player out, saying I think it would be better next time if you went outside the court. Oh, I got a bad pass. That wasn't what I meant. I think it was better for you to go in that direction. Oh, but the sun was in my eyes. Excuses all the time. I really mean it seriously, even though I'm joking. That in order to becoming better, they need to understand that when their coach, that means us, are taking them out of an exercise on the 4 eyes, giving them feedback, it is not. It is helping. And I really believe there's a lot of the teenagers who haven't understood that it's help. We are really trying to help them. And if they learn it in handball, then maybe they know that the school teacher is trying to do the same thing. But I really have a lot of young players that every time you try to give them feedback, they are here. Don't go in here. Fixed mindset, I think, again, fixed growth mindset. Do you see the same? Okay, we don't need to. Nobody needs to give examples to it. Just nothing. And that's so important. But there is pressure, and there is more demands. We need to help them in order to be able to cope this, so that they are able to understand when they go in this transition that it becomes harder. In Denmark, it's also very important that they understand that the way of talking in a senior team is much harder than in an under 18 team. Some could get surprised there too. That maybe if you defend number 2, then the old number 3 defender, he yells into your ear and saying, "Now, damn it." And they are not used to that and get shaky. But that's senior handball. We have to prepare them also for that. That there could be a much harsher tone in the locker room too. What is happening there that you have to cope with it. So they have to be able to accept a new role, and they have to have patience. Usually say to the Danish players that back in the good old days, patience was in the regular book with words, but now we have to find it in the foreign language, because they don't know. They are really, I believe, living from week to week. So it's our responsibility to help to give them patience. And then they need to know that early success is not a guarantee for later success. Otherwise, it will be very hard for them. But hard work beats talent if talent doesn't work hard. You are also working hard. We will have 5 minutes break here, up, around. And
Even if you are talent.
Voi näyttää ne talentit.
Oi, oi.
Se olisi
læser af det.
Niin, on siinä varmaan vähän muutakin. Tavallaan mitä sitten. Joo, mä ehkä vähän keskustelua tässä. Aika monesta on.
Run forward.
Sinne ei enää halua. Kyllä. Niin, ja se on maalissa.
Joka kerta ilmoittaa, ei vaan tässä.
Tämä on vähän pelejä.
Siinä vaiheessa, kun se
Niin, jos se miesten määrä on kuolema. Miesten on kuolema. Se oli tunnu, joka on väärä. Koska ne reilaa on vielä miesten. Liikkuvuorossa joku aamupäin. Tosi aikaa, kun on vastaan.
Onko siellä ketään
Mä ainakin. Niin. Se olisi tehtänyt vasta kun mä tuon sykkeet ovat toisen puolella. Juu, on.
Ainutkin niinku mielisesti.
Eikä paljon. Ei
Se on aina semmoinen vähän
on hirveä riski Niin, just näin. Ei missään nimessä ole varma ratkaisu. Varma on se, hän oli itse Finlandin tarjolla silloin kamera oli.
Onko se sen?
Ihan esimmäinen pelin vallassa saatana slopata Junkken kääntö, Junkken kompo kääntö, Junkken kiekkomuoto kääntö,
Vuoden
Täällä koululla.
Tuossa on iso tuo. 10.
Yes, that was a 5-minute break. Good side. A lot of things happen when there are breaks. I get inspired, and I also remember things all of a sudden. And very funny, we were talking about different players, and I was talking about Nikolaj Jacobsen and Banja. And the first thing I was told by Nikolaj when he became a men's team coach was, find a fat line player for me. Because he really believed that there is a weapon in the smaller line players who can be in front of a tall defender and could go around with him. That was the idea, and it made me remember that we actually for the last 8 or 10 years has worked with a shelf talent identification system on every position. I don't know why I have forgot it. Could be the age, but when I worked there and I had 28 players normally in the big squad, I was not allowed to have 4 identical players on the same position. It was Wilbeck who started thinking like that 10 years ago, that we can't predict future handball. So no matter if it was him or it was Gudmundur, Nikolaj, they had different handball styles, they had different preferences on players, and maybe something could happen as 7 against 6. Then we need, as left wings, to have an Eggert, but not 10 Eggerts. Kasper Uth, but not 10. Landin, but not 10. And that's the way we have been trying working for the last years. Also on the line players, we could have one tall guy, and then we should have a smaller guy, then we should have one that is able to block, one that is able to move. But really important on the left wing to have types as Landin on every generation, that a winger that is possible in the future able to defend number 2, so that we can have traditional playmakers without taking the fast break out of their game. And then also, yes, having that traditional playmaker, I call it shooting playmakers, and working like that all the time. And now 7 against 6, and if it stays, and I'm quite sure it will, because EHF has decided, then this could also affect a lot of what kind of players that could go into the teams. Yes?
Can I just get your fast opinion on 7 against 6?
Yes, you can have it very fast. Sorry. Yeah, I think that the game was meant to be 6 against 6, and you don't see basket, volley, football where you can take one on out and you can take one in. So I think that it's a pity, and I especially think that it's a pity in youth handball, where we have to build the players and give them a lot of competencies. And in Denmark, right now we are trying to take 7 against 6 out of all youth handball until under 18, because we should help them to become senior players. But in under 16, under 14, to say you have not not allowed to do anything 7 against 6, not even with the shirt on, so that they could learn to play handball. I think that wingers, they are already standing there a lot of the time. Now they will only stand there 7 against 6, because why should they run in here? There are two. They are just standing there, they are not moving, because why should they do that? Big guys shooting. Small guys in here, they can't go 1 against 1, there is no space for them. So almost every position, I think that is tragedy. I can see that it can give the matches a little more excitement if the underdog is their last chance to go in to come back into the game. But I don't think that the game will benefit from it. And in Denmark, we have a few league team on the men's side that is almost only playing 7 against 6. And also when I talk to people that are not that much in handball, when they watch them in the television, they just turn off or go to another channel because they think it's boring. There are no fast breaks. It's just playing there, walking, playing down there. You don't have to agree, and I really like if there's someone who would like to say that it's brilliant, because I want to have some good arguments, but that was the shorter answer. I think it's interesting into youth handball. I think that's where I think it's very, very important that we don't play 7 against 6, because it's so important that you can win 1 against 1 and then make other chances, not given that. Even though I will make some exercise in here later. What do you say? Nothing at all. Can you see any good arguments?
I think the decision-making part, doesn't it give, I mean, a lot of your training was always also one defender less than this gives a lot of.
And there will be more of that, because I think when you split the game up, it's very good for the decision making, and I think it's very important in the attack to be able to make the right decision very fast. But I think when you go from part to the whole game, then I think it becomes boring. Yeah. Don't need to answer. Brains. Next thing here. Have to be aware of the relations around the talent. We were talking about during lunch. Many people, organizations around the talent. Are they helping or are they spoiling the talent? But we have to be aware that in the middle is a young teenager, maybe, who has to be very aware of a lot of people. Different school teachers, different coaches, parents, girlfriend, boyfriend, and I'm sure you could mention more. But it's really a lot of people that they have to be considering about all the time, and who is good for them and who is not good for them. I think it's very important to have a good balance with the education system. And in my point of view, we could invest more from 19 to 24 instead of 13 to 18. That's also why I work on that school. I think it gives a lot of sense for me to work with players from 19 to 24, and that they could work harder there when they have finished high school or their gymnasium. Then they could see 2 or 3 years how good can I become. Of course, you have to practice when you are at the gymnasium, but maybe you could practice less and then go up later. I would like that. Because right now in Denmark they have to perform in handball and in the school and in the social area, and then we have all the national team camps and we have all the World Championships, European Championships, and I think it's way too much at the same time. So I think we could benefit as a sport to wait. Parents, don't know how it is here, but we have a lot of discussions in Denmark regarding the parents' role. A lot of parents really pushing their children in Denmark to become good at a very, very early age. Hard time making them understand that it's much better to make results when you are older than when you are under 12. Also see a lot of pressure from the parents in early specialization. They believe that now it's handball, or now it's football, or now it's ice hockey. And it's a hard time making them understand that the best for the child, both in their health, for the whole lifetime, and in order to become a good handball player, is to wait and to have several sports. The parents in Denmark are also the ones who is pushing for centralization. They don't understand, a lot of them don't understand that it's good to be in a little club, having a lot of responsibility, being able to bike to the hall instead of being in a car or a train for a lot of time. Then they also believe that it's important under 12 and under 14 to be on the best team, to become the best player, or to be picked. So we have a lot of discussions regarding that, and I'm going not that much anymore, but when I was talent manager, I had a lot of clubs asking me, can you go out and talk to the parents, because it's a disaster. So I don't know how it is here. Some of them are very good managing it, and some of them understands what the right thing is. And I think the most important thing is to also to understand that they want the best for their child. Everybody who has children knows that we want to do the best, but it's not always that they know what the best is. And when I go to the dentist or I go with my car to get it fixed, then I don't ask them, say I think you should do that, or that I think it's that. So let the handball coaches and the clubs take the responsibility. That would be nice. Agents is also an issue in Danish youth handball. There is money in Danish handball, and there's even more money if they can sell the players to other countries. But are they always the one picking the right club? And then how can the coach help? I think cultural leadership is very important when we are coaches. By being aware that the talent is the important focal point, not the coach. We have to be a catalysator for other people, not for ourselves and our own career. I think that's very important. Every decision we make should be made the best for the players and not the best for ourselves. Have to acknowledge the important things, and by being a strong cultural leader. By that I mean that every day when we go into the hall we have a unique option in getting them, the players, to have good habits. For example, being aware of whom and what to praise. What are we talking about when we are coaches? What are we saying? Are we aware of only saying that that's a good goal, you're making a lot of goals? Are we talking about defense? Are we talking about hard work in the gym? What can we do? I think one of the main things we can do in working with a growth mindset is to be aware of the process instead of the product. So that means that when I was having the boys in there, I think 1 or 2 times I was thinking, because I said that was a great goal. And of course I should say it sometimes, but the most important thing is that I talk about what I want them to learn. So when the big guy, he goes with his arm down here, then if he picks it up here and he passes it, I don't know where, it doesn't matter. I will praise him because he has his arm up here. But I see a lot of the guys and girls in that age, they are only acknowledging the product. Did I succeed? Did I not succeed? The left wingers in one of the last exercises, he was standing down in 6 meters, but one time he was up trying to steal the ball, but he didn't succeed, but he tried. Praise, if you want a growth mindset. And I see a lot of coaches only praising the product. That was a good goal, but if it's so important what we go into. Hard work in the gym. In Denmark, the culture in under 16 and under 18 for a lot of coaches is that I'm in the hall 10 minutes before every single time. I am in the cafeteria when they are in the gym. But then they don't work hard because they want to be acknowledged. So of course, if I believe that it's very important for them to work hard in the gym in order to become good handball players, then I have to be there. I have to show them. I have to talk to them while they are in the gym that, oh, I can see that you're working hard here. Try to push it one more time, one more time, one more time. A lot of Danish coaches, they don't do that, but they do it in the hall. That's also cultural leadership in order to have a good training environment. And who plays? In Finland, all of them plays. Otherwise, we don't have a team. I could see when I talk about that in the first session. But is it the best players or the one who deserves to play? Cultural leadership. Who do you praise? Do you praise talent or do you praise hard work? I can see the same Danish teams playing in August, December and in April, and it's the same 7 players who are starting the game. I don't think it's funny to be number 8 to number 12. That even though they work very, very hard, they never get the chance. So if the best player who made 10 goals in the last match, he's not able to practice two times the next week, or his uncle is becoming 80 for the 3rd time, then he shouldn't start. Then Peter should start. He's not that good, but he's working hard. Praise it. There was a mark.
Yeah, it can be that it isn't that funny for them, who was always picked as number 1 as well.
Exactly.
Because it's really good, high pressure on that player.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks that he should be the performer and win the game every time.
Yeah. I think it would be very good for him sometimes also to learn this could be the situation when you become senior player. And I have had youth national teams where I have been in cooperation with the club coach. I'm calling you and saying that I will pick out 18 players next week and I will pick out 6 later on. I know that your goalkeeper is the best, but I won't pick him because I want to show him that put him in the situation where, oh, I wasn't picked. I will tell you so that you know, so that you don't talk to him and say, Claus, he is the biggest jerk in the world. So, but I have done that several times, because then the goalkeeper will come when we come into the camp and he will knock on my door and say, why wasn't I picked in the first place? And then I will say, what was going through your head when you wasn't picked in the first place? And then he will say, oh, I was a little shocked, and haven't I been working hard enough, or now I have to work even harder. Perfect. That was why I didn't pick you. So it was not because I haven't performed well in the club, no. I just wanted to show you the case, how it could be when you were not picked, because maybe you will see that later on. My experience is that players who haven't have a setback before they become senior, they will get a setback and they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do because they have never tried it. So I try to build, what do we call it? Take their legs away once in a while, just to make them have that resistance that I believe is very important. Sometimes the coach doesn't agree that I'm doing that, and yeah, then we have to discuss that. But remember, everybody wants to be acknowledged, even us. So it is very important that what we acknowledge is the right things. And for me, it is hard work. But hard work combined with a big smile. Because if you take the joy away from talent development, then they won't become good. It should still be the travel should be enjoyful is not the word. It should be a fun ride getting there. That's what I mean. And the clubs should also consider this. How can we create the best environment for development? How can we work on these things? What kind of coaches do we pick for the different teams? What are they known for? Maybe we can't pick, we just have to take the one who is not running out of the office. But if you have a chance, I see a lot of under 14, under 16 coaches in Denmark that should be having senior teams, because they are tricked by winning games. And that's all right, because this is sport, this is winning and losing. But if it's your main trigger when you have an under 14 team, I'm not sure that it's the right match. And I think maybe it would be better to have a senior team when winning is the most important thing. Try to pick under 14 coaches that is tricked by development and also by winning. Optimize, challenging, matching the talents. If it's possible, use role models, but the right ones. And a lot of the Danish league clubs, they have morning sessions with younger players, and 2 guys 1 week, next 2 guys this week, next 2 guys this week. But there are some of the players, they should never be there because they are not role models. They are good handball players. Then it's better to pick out the ones from the senior team that is really good role models, so that they are presented for the right players. Also, if it's possible, they could see the role models in the gym to find out how much hard work does this need. There's a lot of players who are working harder in the hall than in the gym. But find the right ones. So if you have good senior teams, use them. And the federation, working on that, form a strategy and follow it. If you are interested, then I have the Danish way, the strategy on the men's side, and I think it's 20 pages. It's translated into English, so I can send it afterwards if you want to read that. That's almost telling all about how it's working.
Isn't that on the Danish Federation homepage?
Yep. Yes, it is. As I said earlier, that's the focal point. Start late, follow the players for a longer period. We are following 10, 12 players after the under 21 team, giving them a chance going in to the men's team. It could be 5 in one camp, 5 new another camp, 5 new next time, but so that we can still continue working with them. Development more important than results. Potential is more important than performance. Individual skills, I've been into this before, so I try to go a little faster. We don't substitute. As I said, that the youth rule was that we don't substitute from defense to offense, and it's one of the main different things from male and female handball in Denmark. When the under 18 men was in Croatia playing now, they were not switching any players, because when the club teams is not allowed to, then we shouldn't do it. It should be the strong example. The women's under 18 does. They also did in under 17. Don't want to say anything more about that. So what is performance and what is potential regarding this recruitment strategy? I'm sure some of the things we have had before, because there has been some good questions, but we tend to talk about how important is it when we pick players, when there's how important is the performance. We try to look into when they are in this age category, does they shine from technique or physique? It can be very hard to see, but if they shine or are successful because of physique, then I'm a little concerned, because no one is as so big so that the others won't get the same physique. So if you are not able to win your 1 against 1 as under 14, or if you are only winning because you are stronger, then a lot of these players, they won't become good later on. But are they able to go in the right moves and they doesn't succeed because they are small and they are 35 kilos, then they are, in my eyes, more interesting than the other guys, because they could build the physique later on. But it's hard when the window we talked about is closing, when you are 13, 14 years old, to learn the new movements. So we are looking a lot into to see the difference between these things when we pick out players. And potential, I've been talking about that, the player's history, the player's physical development. Boys at 14 could be 11 or could be 17 in their body age. And the player's ability to adapt. And I think it's very important that a club have a recruitment strategy. And the best way to have it is to keep as many people inside the club as long as you can. So give a chance for the new players. Was in Copenhagen last week, talking with a club who has got a lot of new players in under 10 and under 12, and it was hard. They said they are beginning handball so late. So how can we help them? by giving them more training, by letting the best coaches have them. In Denmark, maybe you have 1.5 hour Saturday morning, and normally the players getting that court time is the best players. And I said to them, why don't you give that court time to the new players with the best coaches? Give them the fast track. So maybe before Christmas, they have a sense that they could learn handball. I see in Denmark a lot of the new players coming in under 10, under 12, under 14. They are out again within 3 months because they get the same training as the others who have played for 3 or 4 years. So they don't feel success. But if the clubs gave them more from the best coaches, then maybe we could have more players staying into the clubs. And then Carlson, you probably know it, but what is the road? What characterizes the top athletes? They were evaluated to be averagely talented in the youth years. A lot of the biggest talents, they stop, and the hard working, they will succeed. They practiced a lot of sport on their own initiative. That's hard with an iPad. They specialized relatively late. 14, 15 years old. A very important point in my mind, they had few coaches, but those coaches had a huge commitment. I think a lot of the best players, maybe you also yourself are thinking back right now, who made me start as a coach or who meant a lot to me. A lot of Danish clubs, they are switching coaches all the time from season to season. I think it's very good if things work, have the same team for 4 or 5 years, the same generation, so that you really as a person can make an impact. And it also says commitment from the coach might be more important than skills. So that the good players say that she really meant something to me, or he really showed me the way, but not always by being the best coach, but by being that person that they could attend to. In Denmark, we're talking a lot about when should parents stop being a coach for their own child. Because if we haven't, in Denmark, having parents coaching their own children, we wouldn't have children's handball.
Same here.
Yeah, same here, yeah, same, I think everywhere. But it's just the same thing. That the commitment is so important. They did not experience great pressure to perform. They were not as used to winning. They experienced several defeats and may therefore have learned to handle disappointments and hardship. Swedish investigation from the 1990s, so 20 years old. I still use it because it is my own experience too, that these are the characteristics of a lot of the best players. Yeah? Questions?
Are Swedish 20 years up from us?
I'm not sure. But this was what I had at the second theoretical presentation. trying to look more into talent development from the step from into senior handball. And I know that we are only having the hall at 4:30. So it will be a little bigger break right now, if you don't have any questions. Thank you.
Ei päästä aikaisemmin vai? Se on treeni.
Vanhemmat vekskelit.
Mekka voi tehdä sen ajan koittaa olla
Sippo alla. Tosittain Sippo hartsosta.
et saa iso veksi. Et saa kuitenkin iso.
Joo, mutta en mä niin iso. Vad sa du?
Jag har bara plats ett på sin.
Jag har min guddottare på man som inte en chans att bli där. Men det har ingen. Det är min guddottare. Ai. Vad sa du? Joo. Hon fixar det.
Aika ei.
Oliko mehu hyvä? Onneksi tullut vähän nuorempi. Ja hyvin käsi. Tulee Nesta Pomeron. Sjutton till 19 för käytännössä. Nämä borde vara lite sexigt. Jag var lättare att spela när man får surfa.
Alltid kan man få på ett. Sitter du 10 timmar och lyssnar på korvbås och tycker att man är värdig namn?
Volleyboll.
Det är bara så.
Så börjar jag spela i den bara. Mot barnen.
Viimetetään taas, että osaat sinne oikein vaihtoehtoja.
Eli lekkinen suoraan.
Anna mahdollisuus.
Nopeasti tänään.
No joo, jatkaa okei. Jatkaa okei. Då kan ni väl få rundet som går framtid.
Jaha, joo.
Of course. Yeah.
En tiedä,
En mä illaksi sitä.